And we are live. Hello to everyone. Looks like in the house we have Vera Faith, Adam, Nimue, and Draco, and Merlin. Thank you, and especially for Merlin because he's over the pond, so it's really late for him.
Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you here.
Yeah. So, without too much further ado, many of you will already remember that Dave had done the core curriculum video quite a while back. And so this is kind of the next stage, and it's a proposal. So it's particularly important that you guys give us some engagement, either in the live chat or in comments or in the Patreon backend community, right, or in Facebook
email
Messenger,
me, things like that.
like whatever the way is that you reach us, because we're looking for feedback.
Right.
This is not like oh, this is what we're proposing and that's it. Like that's not how this is working.
Right. This is not
but
set
we're still
in stone
excited.
Yet, but it's making a lot of progress. So.
Aw, look at this.
Right.
Yeah, cool. So, and this is what Adam says: LNC Lumen Omen Tielvo. And we know what that means. Magovanen. Awesome. Very good. Okay. Okay, so we're going to upload the document.
All right. So there's a few things we're going to touch on, and I'll read this as we go. There's a few things we're going to touch on before we get to presenting the paths, the different branches, and there's things I wanted to touch on because in the last 2 weeks, things that I hadn't considered came up, and so I wanted to address those and then go into the path. So in any spiritual organization or in any organized spiritual path, clear definition and thoughtful boundaries form the foundation upon which authentic practice can flourish. For the way of Arda's lore, these elements are not constraints, but structural pillars that safeguard the integrity of a tradition rooted in Tolkien's Legendarium. Definition ensures that the organization's guiding vision remains coherent. It clarifies the sources that shape the path, identifies the core text and themes drawn from Tolkien's work, and articulates the metaphysical currents, such as the flame imperishable, subcreation, and the dignity of free will that give the tradition its distinctive character. This clarity provides practitioners with a shared orientation and a meaningful framework for study, reflection, and spiritual development. Boundaries serve a complementary purpose. They help maintain fidelity to the moral and cosmological foundations Tolkien established while leaving ample room for personal insight and creative interpretation. Within the way of Arda's lore, boundaries protect essential values such as stewardship of the natural world, moral courage, fellowship, and the reverence for creativity as a sacred act. By upholding these principles, the organization preserves its authenticity and prevents the tradition from drifting into ideas incompatible with its source material. Together, clear definition and healthy boundaries allow the way of Arda's lore to remain both rooted and expansive, anchored in the spirit of Tolkien's writings, while open to the diverse expressions, insights, and imaginative contributions of its members. They ensure that the organization grows not through dilution, but through a deepening engagement with the mythic, ethical, and spiritual richness that inspired it. As
nice
we go into
going there, I just had a vision of how it's a big tree and it's all being fed by one root, the roots, Tolkien's work, and that they come all through the trunk, and then each of the people, like, and their expression of it are like a branch, like, and the leaves on the tree. That's really cool.
So without going into detail, as I mentioned, in the last 2 weeks, optics that I hadn't considered were presented. Things, and I'm not going into names, but I am extremely grateful for the experience because it's things I never would have considered, and I'll explain why. But there was concerns that, well, this could be divisive, this could be a power grab, this could be a cult move, this could be a bunch of things. And the reason I'm addressing it is because the more I thought about it and pondered on it, if one person had those concerns, it's a good chance that those watching or those watching the replay might have similar concerns. So I wanted to go a bit deeper into where I come from when this path process is being created. So, wisdom, not power. I have explained before in my introduction video that I was extremely fortunate to have been formally trained by my mentor in a 5-year-long one-on-one personal training process. Relaying this information is not meant to brag or be condescending towards those who haven't. The reason I bring this up is because having my mentor formally train me allowed me to avoid a lot of mistakes that I could have made. It helped to fundamentally shape who I am and the way that my mind works. One of the most crucial lessons that my mentor taught me was to seek. You went too high. Sorry.
Hang on. That was the computer that decided to jump. Sorry about that.
Let's see. One of the most crucial lessons that my mentor taught me was to seek wisdom and not power. Because initially I wanted to get stronger in magic, and I naively believed that power equated strength. And I cannot count the number of times that my mentor had to admonish me to seek wisdom, not power. Honestly, she must have been exhausted saying it. And I did not understand that at all. But I did listen to her words. I do not remember exactly when those words took root and flourished, but they did. And after that, my mindset was dynamically changed. By seeking wisdom, you gain knowledge. And by obtaining that, you gain power. The fantastic thing about this simple process is that because you have the knowledge part, you know which spells, meditations, and such to accomplish your desires. A result of the knowledge is that you now naturally become more powerful, so the spells you can cast are stronger and stronger. Finally, the most important aspect is that you possess the wisdom of when and how much power to use. I relay this.
We'll change that because it says "oh."
I
we'll
saw
change that later.
I relay this information here so that before explaining the path system that is being created, my mindset, both personally and more importantly for where the organization is concerned, can be understood. As the director of spirituality, I do not seek power, ever. I have no need for it. Over the years, I have received knowledge and gifts from friends to the extent that power is not something missing in my life or magical path. My function within the organization is one of service, and that is what motivates me. The moment that is no longer true, I will resign from my position instantly. I do not seek to create a cult environment either for the same reasons. I do not need the adoration of followers or control over them. Wanting to avoid any possibility of ever becoming a cult or giving that appearance is the reason that the bylaws are written the way they are, and these can be provided to anyone who ever wants them. We have them all the time. But the bylaws are written in a way that Wall can never become a cult organization. It is not possible. There's so many redundancies of approval processes, and this person has to ask that person. So it's really crucial that they were written to not do that. I want to respect people's autonomy while providing guidelines and boundaries that protect the integrity of Tolkien's work, which is, go back up real quick.
Oh, I apologize.
No, it's all right.
You want to respect people's autonomy while providing guidelines and boundaries
that protect the integrity of Tolkien's work, which is the foundational information upon which our organization is based on. So now we go into the sanctuary path system. And I started using path because originally I was calling it houses, and that, while not a bad thing, felt too Harry Potter, and I just didn't like it, but I couldn't think of anything else. So I went with the individual paths.
And this is why we're presenting to our audience, because they may have amazing ideas about what to call it.
So the last thing that I want to address before the current 5 paths are revealed to everyone is the reasons for their existence, as there has been confusion and it led to accusations of division and the intent to divide us into groups rather than unite us as a group of people. This thought process couldn't be further from the truth, and I'm ultimately grateful that it was presented to me, because it was an optic of the paths that I would never have seen, as that is simply not how my thought process works. There are 2 things that need explained before we move on to the paths. The first thing I want to explain for those here now and those watching the replay is a quick look at how my thought process works, because that is crucial in understanding why the paths were created. In my house, my wife has an affectionate term where she calls me an emotionally stunted robot. It's endearing. It's not insulting at all. This is due to the fact that the way I process things is from a very logical and analytical point of view. If you are looking for an emotionally based response, I am the wrong person to talk with. If someone comes to me and they're in this isn't here, but if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm having an emotional time," I can listen to you, but I am not going to grasp the concept of where you are coming from. It will make literally no sense to me. And the reason this goes into here, the best way that I can truly explain how I think would be to compare myself to a Vulcan from Star Trek universe. And I'm not talking about Spock, no shade intended, but a true Vulcan mindset. As such, a lot of concepts and what might be considered normal human responses or thoughts are foreign to me. They are completely illogical and irrational. I don't grasp them. The second and last thing before presenting the paths is probably the most crucial reason in understanding the vital role the paths are designed to address and the community they are intended to create. I believe that I shared this in my introduction video as well, but if not, I will relay that here really quick. So, I have known since I was a child that I was not human. That has never been a doubt for me. Others are like, "Oh, I discovered this in my 20s. I didn't. I did not learn until a situation occurred when I was around 6.5 years old. At this time of my life, I was in foster homes away from my birth family. A car cut us off, and I remember saying from the back of the car something to effect of, "These stupid humans." My foster mom looked in the rearview mirror and said, "Honey, aren't you human?" To which I replied, "Only looking." I remember her eyes getting really wide with shock, and she was quiet. In that, her eyes got like dinner plates because a 6.5-year-old just told her, "Only looking."
I only look like a human.
Exactly. It was at this point that I learned not to talk about that because the world didn't understand and was frightened. Throughout the rest of my years, it was incredibly lonely to not fully know what I was, but to know that I did not have others around who would understand until I found my mentor, who later turned out to be Elvish and helped with the self-discovery that led to where I am today. So
Wow.
with that explained, we can move on to the paths. These are not intended to divide, but rather to create places of community for those who may approach Tolkien's material from a different frame of reference. While we are all members of WAL and make the organization an amazing thing, it can be lonely if we are the only hobbit that we know. It can be difficult because the spiritual path of the hobbit will be different from what the humans or dwarves or elves would follow. To that end, the idea of the paths was born. As they are right now, there are currently 5 of them, and they can be expanded to include more if needed. Each, as they come into full existence, will have obligations, not to a person who leads the path, but to the path itself, as that way the individual autonomy will be maintained and honored. That is really crucial. These are the reason that, and I didn't write it fully, but the other reason that these paths are existing is because as a spiritual organization, and the fact that we are legally registered as such, and there will be chapters and branches that over time open up in areas, it is crucial that a person who says, oh, well, I represent WAL, I've always felt like, the Hobbit perspective was great. There needs to be very clear definitions of what that is. Because if without that, Lisa will know, we have had board members and we have had general members who are like, I'm going to be a Hobbit. I identify with the Hobbits, but it's not Tolkien's version of the Hobbits. It's the Tieflings from Dungeons and Dragons. Great. But that's not what this is. So part of the reason for the paths is to have a very clear definition of a training process through which someone in their community who just, even if they just want to hold a monthly get together, but they want to do it representing WAL, there needs to be very clear cut information of what that means for WAL's organization. It's not to say that someone else's is invalid or illegitimate, but if you're going to claim that you are a WAL-based Hobbit path, it needs to be in line with the material and things that are significant to this group. So that's part of the reason. And then, like I explained, for those who are lonely, it's not to divide, but how a Hobbit would view the material of Tolkien's work is going to be completely different than how Lisa, myself, or others would. And so part of the process of the Hobbit path, or the other paths in general, is not to create a division, but to give people who might feel isolated in the real world a digital place, a digital connection to others that they could reach out to, so that there is a support system for others on that journey. It's meant to be to create pocket communities within each thing that as a whole enrich the larger community that is WAL.
Right. And actually, if I didn't say this earlier in this presentation, this is providing that everyone still take the core materials that Dave had presented in the video that we did a couple years ago, meaning, like so what it is that there is core curriculum that all that everybody that is in WAL has to go through. Meaning in order to achieve, they don't have to do anything, but you know what I mean? Like, as far as like for the next level, and then, like
Right.
the documented, I guess, positions or titles, whatever you want to call it. Like, I mean, it's not like Dakyndre was talking about it. It's not for ego, and it's not for any of those things. It's like literally just to kind of tell a person like, oh, you know, you've studied the core Legendarium and you have an affinity for this particular elective. Okay. That's really all it's for. It's not, and that actually helps other people because they may go, oh yeah, I read all of the core material too, and I resonate with that. And so that's really cool that, you know, another person resonates the way that I do. That's really cool. So we're trying to actually foster community even with the differences of approach.
Right.
And that's the goal.
And so
So
before the paths, also the paths are not a mandatory thing on. So you have to understand that with Wall, there are in essence two sides of the organization. There is the sort of just public community side that we do for this, that for like these
yeah, we
videos,
have a
the
lot of people that
right.
visit our community that actually are, you know, they're dedicants to other paths outside of Tolkien, but they come here because there is a resonance, like, and maybe there's a piece of Tolkien that, you know, works for them, but they're not gonna, you know, because they have their own dedications in
Right.
outside of us. So, you know, we have a space for them to just
So
be in our
right.
community. Like
I was
it's
going to address, because they're not listed here. The general idea is that you can have,
yeah,
we haven't come up with a full title, but you could have
we
what would be
haven't.
considered a seeker or a traveler, someone who's
Right.
curious or someone who knows about us. And like
Yeah.
Lisa said, they may be dedicated to a different path, but they like being part of it or like
Yeah.
sharing, you know, fellowship with us. That's fine. That's great. So they are a
Yeah.
seeker or a traveler. There's nothing
And there's nothing wrong with that.
there's nothing
Nothing
wrong with
wrong with
that.
that.
There's
Yeah.
nothing required of that. The
Correct.
next
Yeah.
set that we would have is what we've decided would be a lot of our Patreon members and things like that. Those are people who move beyond the seeker or traveler idea, and they're like, you know what? I want to be a member of Wall. But they
Yeah.
and so we're still working on titles. We've
It's
had
like,
some
didn't we
great
figure
things.
out like either
Dedicant.
yeah, dedicant. Yeah.
So a dedicant is someone who then becomes a Patreon paying member. And in essence, at that point, they are, you know, they are committed to the path of Wall. Now, they can still have their own things outside of
Right.
unrelated to Tolkien. Many of us do. I
Yeah.
believe in my introductory video, I talked about that, for example, outside of Wall, outside of Tolkien, I practice a specific style of dragon magic. You will
Yeah.
never see that brought in because the biggest reason is that Tolkien was very specific that dragons were not good beings. Now, he
Right.
had other material that suggested there were good dragons, but
Right. But it's outside the Legendarium bounds.
because it
Yeah.
didn't make it into the Legendarium, it
Yeah.
is in essence not usable within the Legendarium's framework. So it won't ever come in. A dedicant can be a member of Wall, but still practice a style of their own path or their own direction that there's no commitment to them again to be like, no, if you're going to be, you know, a member of Wall, it has to be this. Now, that's the public, in a sense, facing aspect. Then there is the sanctuary or the church aspect of the organization. That is where you run into those individuals that want to, in the long run, open a chapter in their area, and they may themselves come from a very specific like we said,
Like a
viewpoint,
alignment or
alignment,
just
whether it's
okay,
Hobbit or Dwarven, right?
worldview, something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Um,
Okay.
so for that, for the person that says, "Hey, I want to be, you know, one of the clergy. I want to to be able to publicly in the community represent the organization. This is where the paths serve twofold purpose. One, a community just for people to share their viewpoint, and second, for those training to represent the spiritual organization. There will be specific paths, because as you'll see, each style is different. I don't want a cookie cutter. I've seen too many in the neo-pagan community where that has happened. And it's like, great, if you're going to be a neo-pagan druid, you follow these 4 things. If you're going to be a neo-pagan Wiccan, you follow these same 4 things, but we just changed the name. That's not holding to the true richness of what Tolkien created. The hobbits, for example, before we go in further, they very rarely ever left the Shire. In both the books and kind of the movies, the idea of even going to the Shire boundaries was seen as almost rebellious. Like, Frodo was frowned on because the elves knew him as elf friend. And the reason they did was, 1, Bilbo, but 2, because the other reason was Frodo was known to go right to the edge of the Shire boundaries and hang out and talk with the elves and learn information about the outer world. The rest of the hobbits, they very rarely ever left the Shire. They thought adventurers were tiresome things that made you late for dinner, and you just didn't do. So the paths are designed so that a person with the Hobbit framework will have a way in which they can sort of practice within the framework that Tolkien did. So that's where we're going with this. And each one right now has a logo that may change a little, but I wanted to at least give you what we have right now. So with that explanation done, let's go into the first of the paths, that of the dwarves.
Which is like, da-dun, da-dun, da-dun.
So, it didn't
display.
It did when I sent it to you.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay, because this is actually from my Word program. So,
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Hang on. Let me see. Oh, it says it can't be displayed. Okay, viewing. Maybe if I change the settings.
That's
viewing the file, but make no changes.
Yeah, we hadn't tested this, so.
Yeah, obviously hadn't tested it. Sorry, guys.
If not, I can
am trying to think of how to do this.
Let me try sending.
Could you take, because it might be that mine doesn't even have them at all. Could it be that where you maybe convert your Word document to a PDF and then send me the PDF file, and then I'll upload the PDF file? Because usually those work with the photos. Usually.
Okay, so let's see. Where I got to figure out.
And for the meanwhile, I'm going to stop sharing the blank screen.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, very much so. Okay. Oh, Astrofel's here. Nice.
Yeah.
Hi.
So how do I? Let's see.
Okay. Adam says that makes sense, and Astrofel says I'm like 30 minutes late, so I don't know if it's already been spoken. But how would one sign up for the paths curriculum? We haven't gotten there, so you are not too late at all.
You are not too late.
And in fact, Astrofel, we are actually asking our community for feedback, because this is kind of a, it's a new way of handling things. Like where Dakyndre was talking about, like, a lot of paths, they have one way, they're overly general, you have to do what they say, or, like, we have a really difficult thing of being able to, serve different members of our community in different ways, but yet still keep the core material in a space, and we've already talked about the core material in Dave's prior video, of which I can maybe put a link in the bottom of the description if you want to see that later. I will also add a video link to Dakyndre's interview because he mentioned it, and you know, like, just for people that needed some background on that. But go ahead and work on that, Dakyndre.
Well,
And
I'm gonna do something, and what I'm gonna do is just try it. I don't know.
okay.
It's not, my computer's not letting me convert it. So what I'm
Okay,
looking
I have a
for.
question. Maybe you can present. Do you see down in the bottom of the StreamYard where it says present or invite? Do you see that screen?
Let me look.
Because you are, I believe, a guest.
Present.
Yeah.
Present, and then there, it looks like I have a share screen option.
Okay, that would be good. And then if I have to give you permissions, I will. We've never tried this before, you guys. It's usually me that is running everything, presenting the document. So this is going to be new for Dakyndre. So just hang on.
Okay.
Be patient.
Yeah, just bear with me. I apologize, guys. I hadn't tested.
Yeah,
the
we didn't test the document to see if the photos that he generated, which, by the way, they're killer. Like, just wait. Okay. So
okay,
we looked at them when we were in a meeting. Oh.
What are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
And okay,
so go ahead and blow that up, and then blow up the document.
Let's see. Whoa.
I'm having it. You're sharing your entire screen rather than a window of your screen.
Oh, okay.
So in the menu there is share the whole screen, which that's what you're doing. Then there's one that's for the window, and then if you have your document open, it'll be in a window.
Okay, so how do I stop? Let's see.
Okay, there should be a thing at the bottom that says stop sharing, but I can also remove it, like, just
stop
until
sharing.
you can figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Stop sharing. Okay, so then present, share screen, and you were saying
screen, and then like
window.
There's an option at the top that says window, and then you go to your document in the window. And if that doesn't work, you can still go to your whole share screen, but then you need to fill out your entire screen so that we only see the document and not all of your windows open.
Okay, because
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see a window. I see StreamYard, but I don't see my document listed. So let's see.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to switch over and look at this PDF to see if there is a way for me. Oh, it's not a PDF. That's right. It's a Word document. I wanted to see if there's a different way of me being able to view this that has the photos. So if I can do that, I will try to go back to it. Michael, okay. Okay, yeah, I don't have. Oh, you know what? Oh my gosh. So it's only the one that doesn't have a photo.
The others do?
It looks like the other ones do.
Okay,
so
then
the one for the hobbits does, the one for the humans
then let
does.
me try just sending you directly the
file,
the one image, and then you can share.
That's a great idea. And I'll go back to sharing this document. Perfect. Okay.
Since the others are there.
Yeah, share it in Messenger, and I'll grab it.
Okay, apologize, guys. Thank you for bearing
with us. We apologize. We did not know about it's Mercury retrograde.
Okay, so I just shared it in our Messenger.
Okay, I'm downloading it right now.
That one was cool. And then that was anticlimactic. Here comes this blank screen.
I know.
What?
I know. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's so funny. I know, right? Okay. So here's what I'm going to do now. I will upload this particular document. Okay, we'll present. Aw. Thank you. Astrophel says, yeah, totally keep the core values loyal to the community, but still allow the public to do what we feel like doing. Exactly. It's a really hard thing to like
it's
both of those things. It's really hard.
It's a very hard tightrope to walk, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Image.
See if it let you.
Here we go. Let's go over here to.
And then we can share the document again in a minute.
Yeah. Elven Spiritual Path. Curriculum. Oh. Wow, it's not in here. Okay, weird. All right, I can't do it that way. So, yeah. I'll try it a different way. We will try with share screen and go to the windows like I've done before. Okay. Chrome tab. Okay, Windows. That's so weird. It's not working. Okay, yeah, so the entire screen. So I'm going to probably have to do the entire screen and then go to the file. So, okay, it's not in the PDF file. Okay, I'm going to find it. Okay, I downloaded it and I'm going to find it.
Well, at least we know.
Oh, it shows up in the window. Okay, weird. I didn't know that it did that. Okay, I'm just gonna do it from the browser because that's where it opened up weirdly.
Okay.
It is so Mercury retrograde. We are so sorry.
Okay, that's good to know. Now I need to play with that image again and.
Yeah, and then figure out how to. We'll put it into the thing, but yeah, at least share screen. We'll get to the window. I'm just going to do the entire screen and then switch over to it.
Okay.
I'm over this already. So I am just going to do it that way. Can you guys see?
So, okay. So I can see it, so I'm
okay. Yeah, because I won't be able to switch back and forth while I'm doing it this way. So I wanted everybody to see the image. And I'm sorry about my StreamYard, stop sharing, like being at the bottom. That's kind of messing up the image, and I can't.
So this image will probably be refined some, but the Dwarven Path for which was helped created by a friend of mine in Nevada who has a much higher Dwarven resonance than I do with things. We came up with the idea of the Dwarven Path is going to be called the Anvil's Creed. And then we can go back to the other document in a minute.
The document?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's the image for the Dwarven Path that we're creating.
Okay. So now we're going to share the document again.
Because apparently the others work just fine.
Oh, look at it. Like we have so much response. Yes.
Yes! So they can see the images. So
yay!
Okay, we fixed that one.
Awesome. I'm glad that showed up because oh my goodness, that was like so difficult. Okay. We are going to go now back to the document. Okay. Okay, something. Okay, I have the document opened here. Okay, enable editing. Okay. If I have to, I'm going to do the entire screen again. Yeah, because it's not showing up. It's like got the Bing, I'm going, what's that? Like, but anyway, okay, I'm going to just go entire screen. Sorry, guys, bear with me. It's the only way I can do it. Can you see the document?
Yeah, it might. You might
Okay.
need to
Oh,
blow it
and
up
I need to
just a
enlarge
little.
it. I need to enlarge it.
Okay, that should be
Yeah.
good. And then,
And
so yeah,
oh, sorry, it got stuck. Hang on. Okay. So we're gonna go down to the part where we were.
okay. So yeah, we'll keep going.
And
so here we
so
go,
let's
and that's where
introduce the
the
cast of
image,
the dwarves, and there's the non-picture, but
which
this will
sadly
be
didn't work.
replaced by the photo that you guys saw earlier.
The
Okay.
creed. Okay, so the Anvil's Creed, the Dwarven Path, rooted in the memory of Aule's Forge and the unyielding hearts of Durin's folk. This path honors creation as an act of devotion. The Anvil's Creed teaches that every crafted thing, physical, mental, or spiritual, is a statement of one's inner fire, echoing the secret resilience of the Khazad, the dwarves. Its discipline emphasizes endurance, loyalty, clan bond, and the transformation of pressure into beauty, mirroring the dwarves' long struggle against shadow. Spiritually, it represents the steady hammer rhythm of self becoming, a path for those who shape their fate through will, craft, and memory. These are simple examples of things that it could include. So, that are different than this is spirituality from a dwarven, in a sense, aspect. And this isn't set in stone. This is
Yeah,
just
we're
where we
still
are right
shaping
now.
it. Yeah,
It's
we're
still
still
being
shaping it.
shaped. So
Yeah.
things that the Anvil's Creed would use is meditation, rhythmic breath work, guided by, that are anvil related, forging related, steady, or symbolizing steady inner cultivation, personal craft work. One of my friends that's in this, and some of the others, they do things that are very, they work with, wood, stone, metal, things like that. It could be painting, it could be drawing, it could be a bunch of different things. For example, like they said, clan bookkeeping, that is records of personal or family achievements, honoring memory as sacred. Because if you look at the dwarves, they're very much about who's your ancestor, and
Yeah.
you ask them, and you look at like some of the stuff, and they're like, I'm Gimli, son of so and so, who, and they'll trace their entire lineage. So definitely that's something big there, or could be. Stone centering aspects, using gems or polished stones to ground the spirit, reflecting dwarven affinity with the deep earth. Oath-making rituals, short, solemn commitments spoken aloud, echoing the seriousness with which dwarves keep their words. There's a bunch of documents being created behind the scenes as well. Firelight devotions, sitting before candle or hearth flame to contemplate the inner flame gifted by Aule. Guardian rituals, acts of watching over one's household or community, symbolically echoing dwarves' steadfastness. Craft-based shadow work, shaping clay or carving small tokens to process inner struggles into tangible form. These are just examples of some of the things that
These are
could be
great
found.
examples, Dakyndre. Awesome.
Thank you.
I did want to mention, for some people who are not familiar with the dwarves and how they came to be, because you might go, well, they worship Iole. No, they're aligned with Iole because Iole created them. But no, their alignment is still to Eru Iluvatar. So just making that distinction, because there might be some questions about that. So
Right. But
yeah.
so the
Oh,
next one, because
oh,
we go
oh,
from the
I'm
dwarven
already
one,
starting to reveal it. Oh no.
the next one is the Hobbit's Path, or the name for it, the image that was generated was Shire's Essence. And this one is
Let me
specific
see if we can
because,
figure out how to make this all show up in the screen, because Oh, good
It's too
grief.
big.
It's a really long one. So, sorry about that. I wanted to.
There
Oh,
you go.
wow. Whoa.
That,
Okay.
that works
So
for now.
for a moment, and then
For a
I'll
moment,
blow it back
so
up
that you
again.
can see the full one.
But at least you can see the full essence of the art, even if it's like tiny on the screen right
So
now.
this one for Shire's Essence, the way the art was generated was with the aspect of the things that would be significant to hobbits or to those who are on a path such as that. It was designed to understand that whether you live in the country or in the urban city and in an apartment, the Shire is not in our day and age. It's not it's not a physical place. It's an essence. It's a environment that can be created in an apartment complex or in the country, wherever you are. It's much more than that. So, the Shire's Essence, the Hobbit Path. This path draws from the quiet wisdom and hearth-centered joy of the hobbits. It teaches that spiritual depth can be found in simplicity, stewardship, good company, and the practice of attentiveness to the small wonders of the world. In Tolkien's Legendarium, hobbits embody the unexpected potency of humility, resilience, and compassion. So too does the Shire's Essence guide practitioners toward inner peace, grounded presence and gentle transformation. It is a spirituality of warm earth, daily ritual, laughter, and courage awakened only when truly needed, subtle but steadfast. So
I like that.
And so it is some of the things that are being worked on, they can be taken out. Again, none of this presenting this is to show where we are. And I'm doing this kind of on my own, but I appreciate feedback because it gives me directions I might not have seen. So a lot of this was looking at what does the Shire represent? What is significant to the hobbits? Because you aren't going to have hobbit wizards, really. That's not.
No, that's not what's going on.
That's not.
mean, unless they bring, the largest pumpkin in their garden and win the contest, and that's fantastic, and that is a kind of magic, honestly.
But exactly. So.
But it's a simple, everyday, like you said, it's good food, good company,
right? And so. Things that might be that we're working on that might be significant to the hobbits and to the path and learning curriculum that's going to be based from a hobbit perspective would be hearth-centered rituals, lighting a small flame or making tea as a sacred act of homemaking and presence, garden mindfulness, tending plants or herbs to honor gentle stewardship of the land. Simple blessings, short, heartfelt words spoken before meals, walks, or gatherings. 11Z's meditation, taking mindful pauses throughout the day to honor rest and small joys. Community circles, informal gatherings focused on storytelling, humor, and companionship. Walking meditations, slow, attentive walks, mirroring the hobbit ability to notice small wonders. Constraint-free creativity, drawing, crafting, or writing lightly and playfully without pressure. Hospitality rituals, offering food, warmth, or comfort as an act of spiritual generosity. So that's what we have as right now ideas. We haven't got to the next one yet, but it's what we're trying to create. And like I said, I'm doing this by myself, but it's a lot of work of getting where we are, but we've made tons of progress. It's looking at that a clergy person for a hobbit type path will be completely different than a dwarven clergy person because they are representing an entirely different framework. So this is something that we're going with. Okay, the next one. This is the human path. In all honesty, this was the hardest one to come up with It took me the longest, and it was one of the last to be created. It is called The Way of the Sword and Star. You may, I don't know, yeah.
We may have to like do
We may
that
have to shrink
same.
that one.
Okay. Oops. Maybe not as much though. So hang on.
So within this one, this path.
There we go. There we
Okay.
go. We can see it
So
all.
this one, it was much harder to create because it just, I don't know.
There's so many kinds of humans.
Right. And it didn't, the resonance was much harder to achieve through meditation, through ideas. I created and scrapped probably a dozen different iterations of it before I got to where I am.
Sorry, guys.
Now.
I'm trying to shrink it back so we could read this. Sorry, trying to fit the page. There we go.
Technology is being cranky. So
I know it's that's because I'm sharing my entire screen instead of like the way I usually share where I can switch back and forth. I can't do that tonight.
So if we go back up, this one is almost, it's fine if it doesn't show the whole thing. It's
go ahead,
go back up to the
Are you image. Going back to the image?
Yes. Just real quick. So
I'll do the best we can here.
That's fine. There are within this one, within the way of the sword and star, there are two mottos. One that I incorporated in this image, which is a public motto. Another, which is a more ceremonial motto. The idea for this order is that it is a sort of chivalric order. And so, as you saw up there, go back up. Sorry for just
I will. I apologize.
Oh no, you're good.
Trying to keep up.
So the public motto for the human path, for the chivalric order that will make up that, is "Let my hand serve the light, and my heart bear the star."
And there's the star right there in the middle. Looks like a star of Erendil. Yeah.
It actually is.
Yeah.
It ties into the sword and to
the star of Erendil.
Right. This one took the hardest to create. Now there is a motto for the path that will be known only to those people in that one, because it is a much more ceremonial, and so it has a much more symbolic thing for the order. But the idea is that within the way of the sword and star, you will be able to have other people. There will, your clerics in those, your clergy in those things. You may have someone that addresses from a historian. You may have, there's a lot more depth to this one and complexity, which is what made it so hard to create for me.
Yeah.
So, reading it, inspired by the Númenórean legacy of the great houses of men, this path embodies the tension between mortality and aspiration. The sword symbolizes action, courage, fallibility, and the unending call to rise after defeat. The star recalls the ancient light of Erendil and the higher virtues toward which the Edain continually strive. Followers cultivate honor, humility, vigilance against pride, and a conscious shaping of their destiny, echoing the human struggle throughout Tolkien's writing. Spiritually, it is a chivalric path of mindful power, balancing strength with conscience and freedom with responsibility. The way of the sword and star, these are things that could be entered into it in the long run. Sword posture meditation. There's actually documents created for this so far of different meditations that use the sword for different things. Poses based on Númenórean discipline, cultivating resolve and moral clarity. Stargazing vigils, contemplating Erendil's light to seek guidance or reaffirm personal direction. Valor journaling, recording choices where courage, moral test, or acts of self-correction arise. Pilgrimage walks, purposeful journeys symbolizing the mortal quest for meaning and growth. Daily renew the oath ritual, reaffirming one's commitment to integrity and purposeful living. Again, there are some documents already created as this curriculum for each of these paths is being presented. Moral dual reflection, analyzing internal conflicts between desire and principle, echoing the struggles of men. Symbolic sword cleansing, polishing a blade or talisman to represent purification of intent. Acts of service, consciously helping others to embody the nobility Tolkien often associates with humanity. This one, like I said, as you can see, we're don't go down yet.
Okay, sorry.
But no, it's all right. But this one
we'll keep
was
it secret.
right.
Keep it
But
safe.
this one was complex because, like I said, while there is differences in each of the paths, there's different ways dwarves are, there's different, hobbits. The humans really, in a sense, have the most complex
Yeah. And
dichotomy
actually,
to work with.
I mean, I'm just thinking about this out loud right now. We may want to actually have a Numenorian specifically one, and maybe for the humans, because Rohan and some of the other human, they're very different than the
Well,
Numenorians.
exactly,
So
but and
this is like something that,
and
again, we want your input, meaning
well, and
audience,
this is
me,
just partly,
replay people, like folks. We're looking for input.
a lot of
So
the curriculum that's being created also looks at all the variances. Numenorian, I have stuff being created that looks at it from more of a Gondor or a Rohan aspect. So it really incorporates all of the different variations of the human path work. Now, don't go down yet, but
okay.
As I talked about recently with and I addressed earlier, recently with the material that was presented and some of the things, there came about the need for, at the time I was only working on 4 paths. However, there became the need for a 5th one because what I wanted was something that is truly inclusive, not exclusionary, because what if we get a person who goes, well, I identify with the human aspect of Tolkien's material, but I don't see my personal path or my style fitting in with, the framework
Like any of them or
of any
whatever.
of them.
Yeah. Okay.
So, again, in the last 2 weeks specifically, one of the individuals that helped prompt my thoughts on this prompted me to create a 5th path at the moment. The 5th or 4th one, right? Yeah, 5th one, whatever.
Can I
somewhere along
Can I scroll
yeah.
now?
Let's scroll down. This one is called The Order of the White Shore. This one is open. This will be open in the long run to everybody. Anyone who is uncertain, because for example, someone like Dave, who's not here, he is very Legendarium based, but he approaches it in a completely different way to where the human house, none of the paths really would resonate with the direction that includes Dave. And there will be others in the organization who,
right,
okay, well, I'm Hobbit, but I don't fully agree with the direction the Hobbits go. I'm maybe in the weird thing, you're a Hobbit that left the Shire. You went out and did something different. And you kind of see that in both the books and the movies that
oh yeah,
when they come back, they aren't the same individuals that left, the Shire. So fitting in is going to be completely different again. So this path is designed to incorporate a place in the spiritual church side of the organization and the clergy path for those who are on a different road. Let's go ahead and scroll down.
Okay. And what I'll do is we'll blow it back up again so that we can read.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, so
Yeah.
that it shows up on the screen.
So, the Order of the White Shore, the open race path. Inspired by the western reach of the seas and the light beyond the circles of the world, this order offers a path not bound by any single race's lens. Its symbolism, the silver shore, white waves, and guiding star, echoes the motifs of renewal, liminality, and the call toward deeper understanding that run throughout Tolkien's cosmology. The Order of the White Shore emphasizes contemplative balance, cross-cultural harmony, and the pursuit of spiritual clarity through reflection and shared practice. It serves those who walk between paths, learning from all free peoples while seeking their own way toward the light. There's a lot of material being designed in a way for this one as well, but at the same time, not as much. It's focusing more on
Right,
like
because it's going
an
to be about the
obligation,
individual.
but this is going to be an individual. This one is going to be unique in that who's in it and how it functions is completely different in essence than the others.
Right.
But some of the things that you can use or that could be found in it are water bowl reflection, gazing into still water to invite self-honesty, insight, and calm, wave breathing, slow inhales and exhales patterned after the rise and fall of the sea, inner path study, reading or practicing aspects of other races' wisdom to cultivate harmony and understanding, light-bearing rituals, carrying a small candle or lantern in quiet spaces to symbolize seeking the higher call, the ritual of the silver boundary, meditating on personal thresholds, transitions, or new chapters in life. There could even be down the road shared council gatherings, open discussion circles where all paths meet without a hierarchy,
Right,
pretty
like
much
meaning
like
that
we
it's
do
like
now.
to like
Right.
so what you're visualizing there is that it could be that and these are the very people that would probably have like meetings with all the other paths just to learn from them or like what's happening or what have you.
Right. We haven't, it's still a work in progress.
Yeah. Very good.
Star mirror journaling, exploring moments where fate, intuition, or discernment guided one's choices, liminal walks near water, wandering shorelines, rivers, or symbolic boundaries to honor the order's name. But this path, like I said, is going to be much well. The last one, there's not really
it's
anything.
like duh.
It's duh.
But it's okay because there are definitely people that want to hear about the Elven path.
Right.
So we're gonna do that.
I didn't write that one. I figured you and I could do that one much more organically.
Okay, but I mean, well,
I did
we should
include the image.
probably
So
let's
if you
do
scroll
that
down,
so we can
the last one, is our current logo, which is going to be
because we were the Elven path
we were Tia Eldalieva, the Elven Spiritual Path.
and we're expanding.
We're expanding, but we still want to honor where we came from.
Yeah.
And so part of that was incorporating because as we rebrand, we're going to make a different logo. The logo for Way of Arda's Lore will be completely different than what we used currently. With that in mind, to honor the 20 years that this path has been around, we didn't want to just scrap it and make something. So the Elven Spiritual Path, or Tia Eldalieva, will continue to exist on the sanctuary side as we become more encompassingly the Way of Arda's Lore.
Yeah.
I didn't write anything on those because with 20 years of experience, we have so much material already in existence for that.
A lot. And also many of the people that come to us, they already know that, like, even after or during studying the core materials, or even before they get that far. Like, they already know that they have an alignment with the elves. Like, a
Right.
lot of people feel
Like
that. So,
myself, for example,
like
I knew I was
myself,
Elven aligned before I got in there.
pun not
I
intended.
right. And it grew much. So
Yeah.
at the moment, like I said, this marks the 5th of the paths that was created with the intent that there will be, and I'm like I said, I'm open in the coming year to people helping create things or ideas. The ideas are great as long as we can keep them within the framework of what you would find in Tolkien's Legendarium, because what we're trying
Yeah.
to avoid is not excluding or creating division, but what we don't want, and I've seen happen, and so has Lisa, if you are not careful, there are a ton of situations where people come into a Nordic path and they'll, for example, in Norse heathenism, they will come into a Norse heathen path and be like, well, what if we incorporate Zeus? And it's like, that's not a Nordic deity. Yeah, but I resonate with Zeus, so we need to incorporate it. And I've seen groups where they're like, oh, okay, we'll shoehorn this in somehow. And 5 years down the road, those groups have diluted into such an eclectic soup that they are no longer a Nordic path. They are something else.
Yeah, it is
Because
really hard to expand your particular brand of whatever you are without diluting your brand. It's really hard to do
and
that.
so what this
Yeah.
is designed for is not to separate people, but it's to give people a framework of, based on Tolkien's material, what is most likely feasible, and utilizing things like whether it's AI, whether it's whatever, because one thing AI is really great at in this process is, hey, examine all of Tolkien's material, and while he didn't write, because some things Tolkien, I always joke, some things he is very specific on, and others he's as clear as mud. He leaves it to where you're just like, wait, what? This doesn't
Mhm.
make sense. And so AI can be really good at going, hey, look at everything he wrote and speculate while keeping his framework, what this
Mhm.
would have been for the hobbits.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is it in Tolkien's material? No. However, is it in line with the overall spirit of his material? Yes. And
Mhm.
that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a way that each individual can find something that lets them find their place in Wall, but not dilute the material in the process of doing that.
Right.
And
And
so
it's hard. It's hard.
it, it's kind of a double-edged sword, or almost, to put it into a phrase, the sword of Damocles. If you're not careful and you stray too far, the sword drops. But if you don't do the work enough, the sword drops. So you're
Right.
kind
So
of left
you're,
like,
yeah. It's like, what do we do? Yeah, no, we have a very
So
fine line here. I'm gonna go through the comments. So Adam
yes,
says, reminds him of the 12 ministries in the Temple of Witchcraft with their specialties based on the signs of the zodiac. It's kind of like that. I mean, yeah, like, kind of. And then he says, oh, a knighthood, which I'm guessing that was about the
the
human
yeah.
and Numenorian house. So Merlin says pretty cool, and Adam says so far vibing with the human path. Wow, cool, very cool. Astrophil says, I vibe with this one, the Star of the White Shore. I resonate heavily with the wisdom and the magic of the elves, but I also deal with more darker magics in my practice.
Right.
Exactly.
And
Like
so,
meaning,
and so
dark
exactly
doesn't mean evil. Dark
right.
can just mean like the Avari, okay, like the elves that
so
didn't see the light. They're not evil, but
right.
you
And
know, they
so
have
for
their own alignments.
this is exactly what something like the Order of the White Shore is meant to be, is
Right.
that, you know, it's for someone like that so they can find their alignment in the path, but not have to be like, well, I identify exactly as the elves. It allows a freedom to belong to the organization, but still practice one's own path. So
Yeah, exactly. So Vera Faith says, I still align with the elves, but I love all of the other paths we are going to have. Exactly. And we don't think that this is it, by the way.
there may
So
be
we've
others. This is
already
just
thought about, I mean, just this is casually thinking about it, and we're just gonna like go blah because you guys are our community and you guys get us. So we already talked about a particular, like, we might need two human paths. Like the Numenorians are so very different than other humans, okay? And then some people are really aligned with like Rohan and the Horse Lords and some of that. Also, I thought about one for the wizards, the Ishtari, because they're going to have a very different approach as well. And some people may align with that. Now, we have not ran into any people that resonate with like Gandalf and the wizards yet, but
right.
you never know. Okay, like
The
that
next
might
comment is
really
great as
be
well.
somebody that okay, so guess who is in the house? Guess who is in the house? It would be Dave Woosley saying Richard Parker and I vibe with Breaking Bad. Dave, did you want to be on the call? You can use your StreamYard link on Messenger, or I think I emailed it too. If you want to come in with us and chat with everybody, like you're
But
invited, and I'll look for you. Let's see. Okay. Astrophel says exactly. So I'm sure that was like exactly what we were talking about earlier. And then Merlin put this little guy. Can't really see him,
but
yeah.
so at the moment though, that's where I wanted to, while these are still being created, we wanted to share with you where we are, because people have asked, where we are, how's curriculum coming. Well, Dave sent the core curriculum, but on the sanctuary side, which is what I'm primarily in charge of, it's been a much harder thing, because I don't want us all to, like I said, it's how do we incorporate a community, but without forcing everybody to go, okay, you're going to learn the same set of skills, whether you're a hobbit, a dwarf, an elf, a human,
Right.
you're all going to
Well, I
learn
mean,
the
the core
same things.
material will be the same for everybody because
Right.
everybody needs that. But
Right.
but beyond that, like it would be terrible to shove everybody into a really generic place after that.
And just cookie cut everything into
exactly.
Okay, we're going to create dwarven meditations for all
Right.
for these 12
And
things.
it's like, and other people are like, boring. We want the elven stuff. And, like, I mean,
Right.
yeah, it could be
So
terrible.
it's the complexity of what we're trying to create is really massive.
Mm-hmm. Astrophel says, I'm thinking that for the human path, we should have something dedicated for each human region of Arda. One thing in relation to the Rohan and horsemanship, and one of the peoples of Gondor, one for Numenor. Like it could be something like that. And we definitely are going to notate that because these are proposed.
Because another thing is we could put it under the umbrella. What might be interesting is to put it all under the umbrella of the
Oh,
way
and then
of the
have
shard
sub
and then
houses underneath it.
or not sub houses, but sub specialties or something
Okay.
within there where you
Okay.
could have where that. So yeah,
Well, we could even do that with the elven one because there's several kinds of elves too.
right.
Yeah.
And right. And so in
Yeah.
that framework, and you could do it with the dwarves because there's some different regions. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could view these paths as a umbrella, and then within there could be curriculum that's designed for sub breakoffs. So
Right.
there's a whole bunch of ways
Yeah,
this can
and
go.
all of these are like, we're not going to be like, like a Harry Potter, like we're going to put a
No.
sorting magic hat on you and then tell you what you need.
No,
That's not how this is working.
absolutely not. This is
No,
not
this is
take a
definitely a
test and
process where we allow you to choose, but we also have what I love about the idea of the White Shore is that everybody can go in there, like upon achieving the core curriculum, like once they complete the core curriculum, and they don't have to choose, but they can already be in the White Shore, and therefore like have that openness, to do what they want, and how they are with their own, how they interact with Eru Iluvatar, how they
right.
act with Valar. Okay, because there's going to be some differences. So yeah, no, I think that
Exactly.
it's fabulous. You guys, what do you think overall of like how this structure is coming together? Thank you, Astrofel, for your input. We will look at that. And I
Absolutely.
do like what also Dakyndre says about umbrellaing under the human, if you
Or any
will,
of the others even.
like, or something like that.
These could be, yeah.
Oh, Dave is here.
Hey,
Look, he's here.
Hello, hello.
How was
it's Richard
dinner?
Parker. Yo, it's Richard Parker and the ABQ. What up, peeps?
No, you're not in Albuquerque.
Yeah, but I had to do the Breaking Bad, mythos. Yeah.
That's where they are. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. God, I'm such a tourist.
But
That happened to me twice today, where some people have told me like TV references and stuff, like, because I don't watch TV, and so they're asking me. So this is what happened. So they were asking me some herbal advice about some things that are running around in some of the communities that are like, oh, weight loss, oh, pink salt recipe, oh, Oprah, oh, this or whatever. So, and I'm clueless to this, okay? All I know is that a lot of people are dying or damn near death from Ozempic and shit like that, okay? But I didn't know about like some of the scams that are happening, like with, do this formula and you'll be just like celebrity so-and-so and lose 100 pounds, in 5 minutes or something. Anyway, so she was asking me my herbal advice about it, and I'm like, I need to research this, right? Because I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is not my wheelhouse, but I will look and see what's going on. And it turns out that it's not necessarily pink salt that is the main ingredient. Like, it's actually a particular herb, and then like pink salt along with other like herbs or supplements around it is like more like the actual recipe. And this is what I had to find out today. But when I was doing it, so I asked her, I said, so how did you run across this? And she says, oh, I saw it, like I was, I want to be like Adele or something like that. And I'm like, who's Adele? Right? And I literally thought it was one of her friends from back east, because she had just went back east, right? And so I thought, oh, like she wants to be like one of her friends that she just visited. And she says, no, silly, she's like a Grammy Award singing. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't watch TV and I don't do pop culture. Sorry.
Me neither. So, I just download pirated movies when I want to watch them.
You download pirated movies. Wow, that's funny. so things that already other people pirated, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh,
That's
of course.
pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because some people are in what they call the scene. That is to say, they're actually in the movie making business, so they have
Yeah.
access to the, to the files.
Well, how funny. Oh my gosh. So Merlin says coming together, very good. Excellent. Right on. Astrophil says I like the overall structure coming to wall as my practice grows, it strays more and more from elven spirituality, hence why I don't come around with the lives that much anymore, but to this day I still love elven spirituality and wall. Oh, that's nice. And hey, listen, if you are like, a seeker or, part of our like ongoing community that, you're not going to be committing to the core material, maybe you could commit to the core material. We're fine either way. No, we're really happy to see you and thank you
And
for coming on and thank you for sharing your
and what
thoughts
we're
with us.
exactly and what we're trying to create is something, because when it was just Tia Eldalieva, it was incredibly exclusive.
It was too
Because
limiting.
it was
Yeah.
too limiting for someone like Dave, as we mentioned before, who doesn't who doesn't have the connection, the elven connection to the Legendarium, but does have a valid connection. The reason we became Way of Arda's lore was so that we could expand in a way that stayed true to Tolkien's material, but provided everybody a way of interacting.
Well,
I
and
can give you.
it had an interesting side effect with that too, because it got rid of a lot of people that were non-Tolkien that
Well,
would
yeah.
come
See,
around.
here's the thing.
And I don't care about if they're non-Tolkien and then they're just Tolkien curious or, things like that. But when they were coming in and like, I align with elves from whatever that's not Tolkien, ElfQuest. Okay, like I'm just gonna make up one.
Or World of Warcraft.
Where
We
do
had
I
people,
fit in your
I'm a
program?
blood elf.
And it's like, nowhere really. I mean, other than, where that's not our purpose. It never was. And so,
Yeah, well, since I was, early, I helped found these, or both
yes,
two
you did.
organizations,
Yes, you
Way of
did.
Arda, what's now
Yeah.
Way of Arda's Lore, and also Ilslo and Devalian, which is
Yeah.
a different group. Anyway, basically, the problem that I had is a lot of people that I noticed earlier on, we're talking when this first started, 2005, they were coming in from an otherkin point of view. I didn't even know what otherkin were. To me, that was just a word that meant nothing. You could have spoken a Turkish word and got the same, response from me. But they were coming in at like from. They had this whole identity built up of the type of elf that they were, and I'm like, whereas for me, I'm coming out of the Legendarium as a mythological system that gives meaning, much like the Star Trek episode Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, Timba, his arms wide. The mythological constructs actually create meaning in my mind. So it's a totally different relation to the Legendarium, and they were only tenuously connected to the Legendarium since they had an idea of what sort of elf they were, before contact with the Legendarium, it seemed to me in
Wow.
many cases. So that's the big difference.
That's it.
Right.
I mean, like, it's so interesting to think about all the way back then too, when, I mean, like, the whole and I didn't even know about it at the time. I mean, I had to be co-founding the path with you, Dave, and I didn't even know about what otherkin was. Like, I had no concept. And then
I did,
and then over the years, like it was like really, really in favor, like I guess from like the like the late 90s through the mid 2000s. Then it started dying off like at around like 2000, I don't know, 10, 11, 12,
yeah,
like it started dying
yeah.
off, and now there's a big resurgence again. So it's very interesting.
There are some other comments too that are really good.
Okay, so I asked Astrophil what her roots specifically were, and she says Shakespearean. That's very interesting. Yeah.
Well, no,
wow. Very
that's
cool.
Merlin did that.
Yeah, Merlin. I was just thinking about like King Arthur and like, I
Right,
mean,
but
but there's a whole bunch
Astrophel
of
hadn't responded
other
yet.
things with that.
Yeah.
So interesting that Merlin says loved that Star Trek episode, very beautiful. So he knew what you were talking about.
And then yeah, Astrophel also says I can still do the practice that I do now, but still be connected to the roots. Exactly. And that's what we're trying to do, is create a place for those who
for everybody.
For everybody who want to honor Tolkien
without diluting who we are.
Right. Make a place so that your own path has a way and can be recognized, but doesn't require the organization as a whole to change.
Oh.
And that's what Dave and I were encountering, was people were coming in and going, well, I identify as a World of Warcraft blood elf, and you need to adapt the organization to meet that demand. And it was like, but that would fundamentally shift what the organization is, and that was the issue. So by expanding into the path system, it allows us to create a way for people, specifically like the Order of the White Shore, allows for people to be in doing their own thing and connecting and being part of the community, but not having to fundamentally shift the organization in ways that would stray too far from Tolkien's material. So it's the balancing beam that we were talking about, the tightrope of how do we expand and incorporate, but stay true to the roots that make the spirituality and practice
and still be welcoming for people who are, they're not going to be dedicants or committed to only this path. They're here because they get enrichment in some fashion that helps their path that they are dedicated to, that might be a different path. So so Astrophel then says, roots as in my witchcraft or my ancestry, witchcraft wise, I started off with druidry, and then, like she had mentioned prior, elven spirituality. Ancestry wise, they come from Mexico, Cuba, and Spanish Roma. So you probably also study like brujeria, stregoria, right? Things like that. Also curanderas, things like that. And I think that those have a lot of resonance in some ways as well.
Well, yeah, one of the problems that we had earlier on, and that we're sort of working through with this thing, is there seemed to be an unspoken assertion on the part of a lot of people that whatever you did as your spiritual practice had to have something to do with Tolkien. Whereas to me, I'm an entheogenic shaman using Salvia Divinorum. You won't find that in any of Tolkien's manuscripts. Go backwards and forwards.
No.
You won't find it. But it doesn't matter, because that's my thing. It doesn't have to be part of the Legendarium. So
yeah, but you're also not shoving into the path, meaning way of Arda's lore, that we have to incorporate Tiger-Therians.
Yeah, exactly. That's my own thing,
Yeah, exactly. We know the difference between our personal practices and what is of the material in the way of Arda's lore.
Right. And so that's what both Way of Arda's lore and the broader project of the paths was designed to allow.
And,
so that
it's a hard design to keep, okay? Because let me just tell people what can happen. So we either become too rigid, like a church that says you must believe everything we say or forget it, okay? Or it becomes so open, like the Silver Elves, that it's like, hey, whatever.
It's nothing against them.
Nothing against the Silver Elves. I love them. They're so sweet. But it doesn't define their path, though.
Right. It's so open that anything goes, and even worse, like Dave and I have had this issue. There are, you know, there becomes issues with like some of those paths, like, or some of those groups where physics and basic common math go right out the window, and you'll get someone who's like, I'm 6 different creatures, and when they tell you their percentage, it comes out to 350%, and you're like, all right, do me a favor right now. Go to the kitchen and get a 1-cup measuring cup. Now go out in your backyard and get a 5-gallon bucket, fill it full of water, and try to dump it in there.
Yeah.
So
that's what my daddy, who was in World War II, used to say, it's like trying to stuff 10 pounds of shit in a 2-pound bag, yo. It's not going to work.
and so it becomes, that's like Lisa's saying, we have the really hard thing of creating something that's not rigid like a church, because we are a living, breathing path, but we also can't let ourselves get so diluted that there's nothing that exists. And we've even seen that happen. So there was an interview we did in the last year with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Marcus in the Netherlands. And he interviewed Dave and Lisa about 10 years ago, before my time.
It was actually like 11 years ago. Yeah.
Right. And so he was looking at Tia Eldalieva and several other paths. And when he revisited it in the last year, and I was there for that. And one of the big things he relayed in his 10-year follow-up was that we were the only path that was still pretty much in existence of the ones he had previously contacted.
Yep.
He reached out and he made the contacts with the previous people, but they had dissolved because they had no framework or structure. They had become too inclusive, to the point that he was telling us, he was like, they're, for all intents and purposes, they're no longer functionally present. He's like, they don't know what they believe anymore.
Right.
And so
or
that's
it just trailed off. Like it just was like it was a fad for them, and then they just found a new shiny thing and took off. Yeah.
So
didn't there used to be one way back in the day called Middle Earth Pagans or something like that?
I don't remember.
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that's the dynamic that we're struggling with, is we want people like Astrafel. We want you to find a place.
Yeah, even if it's not all the way in, you come in as far as you want. Like, it's totally fine with us.
But what we can't do is be like, well, you know, we're going to stick, like Dave said, we're going to stick Tigertherians into Tolkien's material. He didn't write about them.
Just because,
or like, dragons.
That's what
as
he
I
wants
said
to
earlier.
Do. Yeah,
exactly. I won't incorporate dragon magic into
Or how about me as
a
practicing astrologer? This is happening in the comments, if you didn't notice. So as a practicing astrologer, in Tolkien's Legendarium, the moon and the vessel that sails the moon, being done by Amaya, is male, and the sun is female. And in astrology, it's the other way around, because most of the astrology of the world happened in the southern latitudes, where the sun was male and the moon was female. Okay. So I had to reframe that because interestingly, so in the northern, like there's a particular latitude, and then you go more north of that, and then the sun is female and the moon is male, kind of like Sunna and Mani, like in the Scandinavian, tribal, like how they access sun and moon energy, etc. So it kind of, when I first started studying the Legendarium, it was really contradictory to my astrology practice. But then I realized, well, interestingly, the qualities of the moon, even if it's a male per se, in that particular thing, the male energy still, or I'm sorry, the moon energy still resonates, whether it's male or female. So it still has silver, it's still a memory, it's still watery, okay, versus the sun being fiery, okay. And you know what I'm saying? So I said, wow, okay, so just in the Legendarium, their sexes are, just turned around, but the energy is still the same. So that's how I was able to do professional astrology and not have a conflict with the Legendarium.
Well,
And
also, if you,
therefore I committed to, I became a dedicant to to this path a long time ago.
if you had to, if you attempted to generate, for want of a better word, a Legendarium astrology from inside the Legendarium corpus, it would have to be very different because stars and planets are not distinguished from each other. In other words, movement means nothing. Only luminosity and gradients of luminosity mean
Right.
something. So you'd have to completely redesign it. Basically.
And right. And so that's where we've gotten to is, as we grow, we want to incorporate a place for people who resonate with the path or with the Legendarium in whichever way they do, but not dilute it to the point that it just becomes nothing.
Mm-hmm. So Astrophel had said, I'm Night Elfkin, and I know way more Elven lore in the World of Warcraft than I do in the Legendarium, but I never put that in the way of anything. I don't simply project, LOL, which is totally okay. And I told her that she might want to study the Avari, which are the darker elves within the Legendarium. So that was just a tip for her, like, because she might find resonance, because many of the people who created things like World of Warcraft and also Dungeons and Dragons and other things were inspired by Tolkien. So it might be a good idea to like track those threads. And for the ones that would be like kind of more of the non-Eldar, types of elves, you may want to look into the Avari. And you can like Google that on Tolkien Wiki and find out some information. Now, I will say that Tolkien did not write a lot of material about the Avari. I don't think he had time. I think he was more centered in the Eldar because it was directly relating to the stories that he was putting together, like as things folded
I was looking
together.
up the Avari. They're interesting.
Oh yeah, but she could study that and then maybe see some roots of things that Tolkien said that it may help her with her Tolkien connection. So
they had a strong nativist component in the sense of they considered the Valar summons as kind of an interference, and that's why a lot of them decided not to go. So that's basically the story behind that.
Well, they are very independent, then, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but no. So again, though, yeah, the system that we're creating is where we're at, and we reached a point where it was like, I think it's time to share with everyone what's being done and where we're going, the images, the logos, and everything that's coming out. Yeah.
And I'm sure that, like, I mean, we've had definitely of the people live that have come, there's definitely appreciation for what you've done, Dakyndre, and we're really thankful for, I have to admit that I didn't know if it could be done. Okay, meaning that fine line that we were doing, it's like, oh no, like we're going to either sell out or we're going to
and that's
be
why
seen as very rigid and strict, and
that's why I wanted to address, and I was grateful for the person that brought it, because the concerns were, we're just phasing. Some of the concerns were even, we're phasing neo-pagan stuff and just dragging it in, and it was like, no, it's much, much bigger than that. It's drawing off of multiple sources of knowledge, but doing it in such a way that we are not, we're not just dragging a system in and being like, I'm going to copy what these guys have, because what those guys have works for a Greek path, but it's useless when you're trying to stay true to a Tolkien material.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
Astrophel, the Noldor, are one of the light elves. They're one of the Eldar. There's 3 races. There was the Vanyar, the Noldor, and the Teleri, as I recall. I think that those are the 3 that are the main ones. The Teleri are the ones that later became Sindar and other, like the Nandor and some other ones. They were in the Teleri tribe. But the Avari are the ones that, like, they did not see the light of the 2 trees, where the Noldor did. Okay,
yeah,
so
the
I
whole
just
thing
wanted
is
to let
basically
you know the difference of that.
the whole categorization could be more accurately described as migration groups, basically.
It really, yes,
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And so, but as she studies this, she may. I wanted to tell her, seeing how she aligned with the knight, Elvenkin with World of Warcraft. I thought that she might want to look at the Avari, just to see, because
I think it could be interesting from what I was looking at. I think it would be really useful to Astrophel. I think it would be really useful. Just what I'm looking at, the similarities to a lot of things are really interesting.
Oh, okay.
Good to know.
Astrophel says, I'm transmasculine, so I go by he or him pronouns. Okay.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I will address that going forward.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of similarities to things. So that's where we're at, though, right now, is just trying to get input and show what we've created so far, but nothing. I don't ever want to be the individual that's like, I created this. This is what you will follow. And that is the letter of the law.
Yeah. I don't think that that's the case.
No.
And by the way, if you're watching this on replay, please drop in the comments, or, like I said, reach out to us in whatever way you do. Facebook Messenger, email, whatever it is, we are totally accessible. And let us know how you feel, because, we're trying to make this really a warm place for you to be, but also still rooted in the structure of Tolkien, and that is the primary thing, and everything else blooms out of that organically, though. So
exactly.
So Astrophil, I must apologize. I always call you she, and it's not because of your identity. It's because your name is, if you will, in Sindarin or in Quenya, I believe that Astrophel would be a feminine name, like how Galadriel, that. So I always think, oh, that's a feminine name. So I apologize.
But I think as terms of the presentation, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, and if there's any questions, and nobody's had any questions so far, just we still have, it looks like 5 people viewing. So hey, any of you 5 that are viewing that want a question answered right now, drop it in the comments on the live chat. Otherwise, if you're catching the replay, put it in the comments below the video.
Right. And reach out to us so we can incorporate things, because ideally there would be an entire team assisting with this, but at the moment there isn't. It's myself and then what Dave and Lisa and I work on. And so yes, I'm creating it, but I'm not trying to do it in a way where it's, like I said, where it's like, well, my vision is letter of the right. No, my vision is letter of the law. No, it's just without outside input, I'm drawing off of what I know or directions I come from. And so that is where I'm at. So outside input is welcome, because as you've seen in the presentation earlier, one person in the last 2 weeks presenting outside input that I hadn't considered led to the creation of 2 new paths and a fundamental shift in things and explaining things. And there was so much growth out of that one interaction.
Yeah.
So I myself completely welcome input, questions, or ideas, and that way we can expand the path in a way that's inclusive and welcoming to people.
Yeah, my only, and I'll just say this because I'm thinking of brand and all of those other kinds of things. So I'm thinking that if we had 6 or 7 houses instead of 5, it would match more with our 7-pointed star, and then the 6 energy with Tolkien and the Elven number system, the 12 too. I mean, if we had 12 houses, that might be kind of unmanageable, but I'm hoping that we can like be more like dialed in on the brand, unless there is uses of the 5 energy within the Legendarium, and that might have to be ran by Dave to see if there's anything like
I already
that.
made one. That's my Legendarium modal values document. I can give you the
Oh,
link.
I may have it then. Okay, I'll have to look at that again. I
Well,
apologize.
it's actually up on my HackMD writings.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay,
Let's
Merlin
see.
says, I don't have any ideas because everything already sounds so well thought out, but I think of anything in the future, I'll definitely reach out. Awesome.
Oh, thank
and
you, Merlin.
You're like way ahead of us in time. You're probably at like 3 in the morning or something. So we're going to give you a break and tell you thank you for watching.
Yeah, we're going to come to a close. And yeah, thank you so much, Merlin, and everyone for being here. And it's
exactly.
It's
okay,
glad to be here.
Azrael is reading my mind.
7 houses representing the 7 points of the Elven
star that we have,
so
the Septaquitra.
We can look at expanding ultimately to 7 and figuring out what
there's
that
the
would look
Legendarium
like.
modal values link in our group chat, in our messenger chat.
So
thank you.
Okay, brilliant. Let me go grab it. Okay.
I did this last year, so.
Yeah, copy link. Okay.
I be the mathematics guy in case people don't know.
In case other people need to know.
Yeah.
So Facebook adds a lot of crap to their tail, so I'm going to cut all of that off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the things about sharing links on Messenger is that paste. Okay. But and if people need to know where we got the HackMD articles, on our link tree, we do have a link to Dave's HackMD account so that you can find it on there as well. So, oh, look, Nimue says, thank you for sharing and explaining the curriculum as you have developed it so far. I appreciate hearing about the plans and perspectives. Excellent. And Nimue, we're particularly interested in ideas that you may have about how to navigate this so that it fits, without compromising, our brand, basically. So that would be amazing and helpful. And for anybody that is curious, Nimue, like up until recently, has been our artist, and we're going to be sharing a few of her art pieces tomorrow. We're going to be sharing the Quaron, because it's going to be the waxing moon after this, because basically yesterday, really late at night, or today, really early in the morning, depending on where you live, was the new moon. So as it starts to wax, we're going to be sharing our Quaron Hisime with Este the Gentle, and we're going to be sharing the first day of winter, as well as Quivere Quendiva, which is our Elven holiday that we added to the calendar. And if you guys are curious about that, go to the link tree, find the one that's like Elven calendar, and you'll see all of everything of how that came about. And it does a really good job of rounding out the calendar, because even though Tolkien didn't make a holiday for that other than the first day of winter, I think that it's really cool to be able to like kind of observe that time of the year, because all the other stations are pretty observed throughout the calendar year, and that's the only one that wasn't. And that when Dave had found the star alignments and in the stories and figured out, oh, that happens at November 21st, and we're like, wow, that's really crazy, because that's the first day of winter. And if the elves had awoken, so that's how that kind of happened. And so I do believe that we can probably keep that holiday for all of the paths. I think that it's a good idea.
It was a logical
they may celebrate
inference,
it
is what it
differently,
was.
or just have a different observation of it. But I think it's still a good idea. So
well, yeah, the only evidence we have for what other people would call an Elven calendar is the calendar of Imladris, because that's the only one that was detailed. But I'm sure there were other variants, but the seasons probably were roughly the same.
It's Imladris is the one that is the seasons, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but that's the only one that we have direct information on as far as seasonal length.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, it was the work of you in Tia Eldalieva back in 2005-06, whenever we were doing all this research to align the Elven holidays with like places that made sense in the calendar. Other than Endari was already known as to what it was.
Some of them like Turhalme, for example, and Tarn Osta are directly described.
And Tarn Osta, those are known because they are the solstices, so that one's known. The first day of the Elven year, that's known as well, and as much as the last day, and also Endari is known.
Right.
But some of the other ones like Nos Na Lothion and
that's actually described also. It's just described in like two sentences.
Exactly.
In Gondolin proper, so it could have been just a Gondolin holiday. We don't know.
We don't know, but it still really works with the the day as being the first day of summer. It really works.
My main motivation, I suppose you could say, for doing this was to make a seasonal calendar that would have meaningful for people using it right now. I wasn't trying to backdate stuff like a lot of Tolkienists will say, well, what age is this, and what year of what age is this? I'm like, I don't give a damn what age it is, I'm telling you.
We're talking about celebrating it now.
What do you feel like what do you feel like in the seasonal year? What does it feel like to you now? What sort of associations do you get? That was the difference between me and the so-called Tolkienists.
Right. No, it was great, because then it made it to be where we have a calendar, and it's so unique. And what's really interesting is that I know that there's some other folks out there that are copying our calendar for their own Tolkien path or whatever. And by the way, that's okay, because actually the more that we can get energy put into our calendar, the better. I think that's a great plan. Go ahead, just credit us. Well, that's all we ask. Just credit us and spread it far and wide, right? And that should be probably like where we end. So you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. And for Dakyndre, because he's in Hawaii, probably has to go eat dinner. Okay. Other people probably have to go to bed. Merlin particularly, being 3 o'clock in the morning or something, probably should hit the hay. So Wonderful. Have a good evening, you guys. Thank you again for being with us. We so appreciate your input and your energy, and we're so happy that you came live. And to all the people who are watching the replay, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
your
Thank you,
energy,
everyone.
for like everything, your ideas, your input, everything. This is awesome. And we can't wait till the next time. Okay? Stay tuned, everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.